Have you ever stopped to think about it? A lot of times, our four-legged friends have a feeling that we are not even imagine that. What if I told you that for a dog, you may notice a crisis in healthcare even before their symptoms become evident? This is a story that will surprise you, a story of courage and loyalty, which shows how much a dog is able to better understand and protect their humans in ways that seem almost miraculous. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out. Now you can change the way of seeing these animals in such a special way. This is a routine in a quiet, a cozy home, a place where everything seems to be normal. A man is part of her daily routine, is always accompanied by his faithful companion, a dog who, from a very tender age, has been shown to be more than just a pet. She was a member of the family. To be a true partner, that's what I felt, through instincts, when his owner needed help. This is a relationship of love and trust. It was clear to whom he viewed from the outside. But on a normal night, something unexpected was about to happen, changing, and in a dramatic fashion. The man, a diabetic, had to learn to live with the condition, but did you know that at a certain moment his body would show signs of the quiet of a problem? And that's exactly what happened. While he was sleeping deeply, her body began to show signs of a crisis of low, cold sweating, irregular breathing, and a feeling of weakness, which is growing bit by bit. It was a delicate, almost invisible in the eyes of those who don't know the signs, but also extremely dangerous. A quiet crisis which, if not caught in time, could lead to serious consequences or even death. It was at this moment that the true hero came along. A dog with a sense of fine. He realized that something was wrong with me. She tried with all his might to wake up the owner and barked desperately. He leaped and he insisted that all of the shapes. But when they see that their effort was useless and she has made a decision that would change everything, without a moment's hesitation, she ran through the house up to the front door and then went out to the street, barking depth, drawing the attention of the neighbors. The reaction of this dog is immediate, an act on a gut feeling that it was essential to save the life of his master. And what happened next? You are going to find out in the next few minutes. It is a story of bravery which will surely touch your heart. And there, at that moment, on the street, it seemed to turn into a scene of intense emotions. The dog, with all his courage and instinct for self-protection, he still continued to do it with strength, as if he was telling to everyone around you that something serious had happened. At the heart of its owner, which until this time I was stunned and amazed and began to fill with hope to see the reaction of his faithful companion. At that time, a neighbor who heard the sound, loud and insistent that he went out of the house and worried, and he realized that something wasn't quite right. That was when they began to understand that this attitude is unexpected. It had been an act of bravery that would make all the difference. If you are touched with this story so far, leave in the comments that they are going to touch them again. Or to share an experience in which an animal has been the protagonist of an action is not surprising. Your feedback is critical to build the community that emphasizes a story of courage and love. And if that kind of content, it made his heart beat more strongly, don't forget to like the video. It helps a little too much to take that message to more people who need to be moved and a lot of work. Oh, and if you want to continue with stories like this, subscribe to the channel. Your participation is what makes all of this build up, creating a network of people who believe in the power of a union between humans and their four-legged friends. Let's walk this journey together, because each has a story that you shared here to reinforce the power of love and courage that lies within each and every one of us. And you will still have many more to come. So stay tuned. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that happens in the lives of these people. It is not just a matter of learning a new technique or to follow a different routine. It is, in essence, it is a real eye-opener about who we are, in fact. It is as if, in the course of time, the people were piling on the layers of insecurity, fear, and doubt that prevents us from seeing it's our own. And all of a sudden, when this force is ignited, it changes everything in a way that is almost magical. But it actually has its roots in the understanding that the power switch is on, especially in our way of thinking. Most of the time, the biggest battle we face is not out there, in the circumstances, or in the opinion of others, but inside we are the same. It's a fight to the silent, often invisible, that takes place in our daily decisions. Every choice, every thought that we nurture, build, or tear down our journey of transformation. This is one of the greatest truths that are hidden. On the impact of our own attitudes are, in fact, that we live in. When you start to realize that it takes on a new meaning, we understand that change is not something that someone else does it for us, but it's something that happens internally in the way we think, act, then to believe it. It is like a door that opens to a world of possibilities. And then, when you look at the behind the scenes of this change, we realize that it is fed by the small decisions that add up to create a big revolution in the history of life. This is not a transformation is instantaneous, but rather a continuous journey where every step you take, however small it may seem, it has a profound impact. It is like a seed which, when they receive the right care, it grows, flowers, and turns it all around. And by understanding this connection, we become more aware of the choices we make, to be aware of what you are writing one chapter at a time. However, not everything in life is easy. Often, the biggest challenge is to confront one's own limitations and limiting beliefs. The ones that tell you that you're not able to, that is what you want to do, is impossible. That is, the fear is greater than that of courage. Here comes the importance of a true growth mindset, to believe that no matter where we're at right now, we have to evolve. This is the key to unlocking the potential that exists within each and every one of us. And for this reason, it is critical to understand the impact of our way of thinking and goes far beyond what we imagine it to influence every aspect of our lives, from the small to the daily routines to dream those big dreams that we have. To dive deeper into these scenes, we see that this whole journey of self-discovery and transformation, that is, in fact, the opportunity of reconnecting with what is most true in the U.S. It is also a call for us to abandon the masks, the views and opinions of the outside, of the fears that paralyze us, and we give ourselves to the body and the soul in the process of discovery. And in doing so, we begin to see a picture of the revelations. The more powerful they are in our essence, in the courage to be yourself, to attend to all of our ghosts built, and we embrace our history with all its ups and downs. In the end, this reflection leads us to a crucial point, to understand that true transformation is not a final destination, but a journey of continuous development. Each day gives us a chance to start over, reset our goals, and to renew our strength. And then, when you look at these behind the scenes to internal, we have realized that all of that power, all that strength, and you are always at our fingertips, just waiting for you to acondemos a conscious choice and a mindset that is open to the possibilities. Because, after all, the greatest revelation of what we can do is that we are the authors of our own story, able to shape the future of the decisions we have made today, along with the courage to face what's stopping us from moving forward. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to see beyond the words and ideas, when we're able to realize that every decision, every action is a fundamental building block in the construction of this story that we are writing. And a lot of times, this realization only comes after you immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of our own mind, and in those areas, they prefer to hide in, where they live in our true limits, and so too do our greatest to improve. It is at this point that comes to the realization that change is not something external, something that someone gives you, or it happens by accident, but rather a process, a journey of self-discovery that uncovers the deeper layers of our being. On this journey, we have found that the impact of the choices we make will not be immediate, but there is a subtle, almost invisible, until one day, when you least expect it, everything that we grow inside of it begins to be transformed into concrete actions. And this, in turn, will create a chain of effects, with a knock-on effect that could change the entire trajectory. It is as if the decision were to be a seed planted in the soil of our minds, and giving them the attention, courage, and purpose to them, they begin to sprout and to grow silently into the trees, strong support throughout our journey of growth. When you think about it, we realized that a lot of times in the Sabotamos, we believe that the change will require major sacrifices or in a supernatural power. But the truth is concealed is that she was born in the small daily actions, the choices that seem to be easy, but together they create a profound impact and sustainable. It is like a delicate dance between what we think, we feel, and what we do. The beauty of this discovery is that it gives you the power to rewrite our story. At any time, you just decide to change the script, set the tone of the our word for it built, and realign our actions with what we really want. This is a perception that we are the authors of our own reality and brings an immense freedom, because it is clear that we are not stuck to the external circumstances or in the past, which insists on the need for us to change it. On the contrary, it shows that to open your mind to new possibilities, you can create a new narrative. A story of resilience, courage, and transformation is a continuous process. And all of this happens inside of us, behind the scenes, invisible to the mind, where the real change happens when we allow ourselves to our conscious awareness becomes clearer, stronger, more in tune with our dreams, more of the deep. During this period of self-discovery, many of the revelations that come up, some of which challenge our deeply held beliefs as to strengthen our faith in your ability to reprogram your own life. It is at this point that there is the opportunity to make choices that seem small at the time, but they hold a great potential for impact in the longer term. Every decision that we make, and with this mindset, it's like a seed of hope that can be cultivated with care and patience. You can completely transform the terrain of our existence. So, what seems to be a simple step, in fact, it is the beginning of a great internal revolution, a transformation that empowers you to move forward with more certainty, clarity, and connection with the things that really matter. And then, when you realize all of this, it is clear that the key is not in the search for a magic bullet, but the willingness to explore the behind the scenes of your very being, and to understand that each and every one of us, it is a key piece in the puzzle of endless possibilities. Because deep down, that it is of the very essence of the journey is a constant finding that the change starts within, and the impact of our decision-making resonates far beyond what we can imagine, and influences not only for the present, but also the one that we are building for tomorrow. And as long as this understanding grows deeper, we can see that you have the freedom to create a story that is always at hand. If we had the courage to take the next step, you can open the door to the invisible and to accept that we are responsible for everything that happens in our lives. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we can't see beyond the surface, beyond the limitations of what is often accepted without question. It is at this point that we begin to understand that our everyday decisions, however small it may seem, you carry a heavy burden in the construction of our reality. Every choice, every action is a seed sown in the soil of our lives, and its impact is only going to prove to be over time, often in a way that is beyond our imaginations. This understanding leads us to a different level of responsibility, not as a collection, but rather as an invitation to assume the control of that really matters to our own history. When we went to look at the inside of our beliefs, the more deeply rooted, and discover a true hidden that is often neglected, the biggest obstacle is ourselves, our own doubts, fears, and patterns of behavior that have been built up over the years. It's almost like a suit of armor that protects us from the unknown. But in reality, the armor is also on hold. It prevents our true nature to shine forth with all his strength. And it is at this point that the journey of transformation to become a conscious decision, an act of courage to let go of what limits us in order to embrace the potential that was always there, waiting to be discovered. To dive deeper into this process, we begin to realize that change is not something that is foreign to you, something that comes from the outside to the inside. She is a great interchange of the mindset that starts with a little attitude, a willingness to look at life from a new perspective. It is as though, all of a sudden, the curtain that hid the truth I started to slowly open, revealing the power to shape our reality has always been with us, tucked away out of our hands, on our courage to act on our faith in the possibility of something better. This revelation is what is driving the real journey of transformation, in that you don't have it back, because it connects us with the one part of ourselves which had been dormant, waiting for the moment to wake up. And then, when you understand these aspects, it is clear that the behind the scenes of this, the history of the developments that are packed with stunning revelations. Each and every step that we take in this direction to reveal a new layer of possibilities, with a new gate to be opened up in one's mind. And at the same time, it challenges us to make choices that are more conscious, more in line with what you really are, and we want it to be. It's like a dance between the invisible and the visible, between what we believe and what we can achieve on a journey of courage, faith, and a dash of daring to face up to what is to come. After all, it is the impact of these decisions. It's not just about the now, but also about the legacy that is built on the fact that we don't want to, in addition to the time and the freedom to be themselves in every step of this journey. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we are able to look beyond the surface, when we begin to question our own beliefs, and to understand that in the limit of many times that it is deep-rooted in the truth that is hidden, in which we learn throughout life, and one that sometimes you don't even realize that you're carrying inside. It is as if we are stuck in a kind of a roadmap of the invisible by the opinions of others, because of fears that they were fed from an early age, by the expectations that have been imposed upon, and that, over time, were transformed into the walls, which seem to be insurmountable. But at the same time, deep down, there's a spark, a glimmer of the potential that he still be alive, waiting for the right moment to reattendida. And that is the true essence of the journey of self-discovery, to find that the power to change that story is out of our hands and in our ability to make decisions to break down what we've been taught and to build a new narrative, one that aligns with our deepest truth. And there you have it, something that seemed impossible to begin to make sense of it, the freedom to be who we really are, to embrace our vulnerability, and to use it as a driving force to move forward. It is a revelation that changes everything because it puts us in a position of power, where decisions are not merely reactions to automatic and make informed decisions. And in doing so, we are beginning to see the impact that our actions have not only on our own lives, but also for those around us. Each and every step is taken with the authenticity of a seed is planted on a journey of transformation, where A is the real legacy is not just that we gained materially, but what's left of the emotional impact, the hope, the courage of others. And it is precisely here that the most interesting part of this story begins to unfold. When will we realize that in our own truth, and very often, it is hidden under the layers of doubt and insecurity, and the courage to expose it to the world, it is the greatest act of freedom that you can engage in. Courage is born out of the understanding that behind every fear there's an opportunity to grow, to progress, to reconnect with what really matters to you. After all, life is not a straight line, but it's a constant dance between that which we believe to be possible and that we actually decided to transform it into a reality. And, in the process, a decision which becomes a key part of the construction of a new me. One more page, one more aware and more connected to the essence of our hearts and minds. When you stop to think about the choices we make and their impact, we can begin to understand that nothing happens by chance. It's all part of a grand scheme of learning, where every obstacle, every challenge, and come up with a hidden message and an invitation to make us stronger and prepare us for the next leg of our journey. It's like a story from behind the scenes, where the real difference lies in our ability to learn from mistakes, adjust your route, and then move forward with more clarity and conviction. And that's when the transformation really happens, when we are able to see beyond what our physical eyes can, when we realize that the greatest power is in our minds and in our willingness to let go of what limits us, and to take control of your own story. Because deep down, the truth concealed is that we are the only ones responsible for writing the next chapter, and for deciding if we get stuck in our own shadows, or take that bold step towards what we really want to win. And in doing so, we find that the impact of the choices we make reverberates far beyond what we can imagine, touching lives, inspiring change, and perhaps helping someone discover their own truth. For this reason, every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm who we are. In fact, to reaffirm your freedom of choice and create a reality that is aligned with our essence. It's like a dance operation between the invisible and the visible, and where, as we come to understand the power that is within us, we begin to transform, not only the journey, but also to the world around us, and in it, with the hope that something greater is coming up, become stronger, feeding off our efforts, and to renew our faith in the possibility of living a life more full, more real, and more powerful. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It is born out of an understanding of who we really are, and about the invisible forces that shape our decisions. Many times we are so focused on what we can see and touch that we forget that our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are the seeds which will germinate in quietly and influence each and every step that we take. It's that time of the wake-up call that we have begun to realize that the real change requires a genuine connection with, this is the part that is hidden, that will not appear in your eyes, but it has a huge impact on the whole of the journey. When you immerse yourself in the universe is invisible, we have found that our daily choices have a direct impact impact on our reality. Each and every decision, however small it may seem, it is like a seed sown in the soil of our subconscious mind, and that the land is shaped by the experiences of the past, their legacy, and the standards that too often we don't even notice. However, when we begin to understand the power that we need to reprogram this subconscious mind to it, everything changes. The key is in the conscience. As we become more mindful of our automatic responses, we can intentionally choose to go in a different direction, one that is in alignment with our dreams, more of the deep. This understanding takes us on a journey of self-discovery, where the real difference comes from the inside out. It's like an inner transformation that will radiate to the outside, changing not only the way how we see the world, but also in how we interact with it. And that change is not something that happens in an hour or so to the other one. It requires persistence, patience, and above all, the courage to stand up for the truths that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal. In the process, we realize that our way of thinking, and it is one of the most powerful tools we have for you, because it acts as a filter that shapes our every thought, every feeling, and every action. As we explore behind the scenes of this change, we become more aware of our own making, the small actions that, when added together, they create a huge difference. After all, many of the limitations come from the patterns of thinking that are rooted, which make us to doubt our potential to lead us to accept the life that is truly your own. But when we begin to unravel the layers, we realize that we have the power to rewrite our history, creating new narratives that elevate and empower. It's a release, a revelation in which the control is in your hands. And even though many times it may seem that we're off to the races, for this reason, in this journey of transformation is not only about achieving goals outside, but also on a personal. It is a real revolution in the way we relate to ourselves and to the world. When we understand our emotions, our thoughts, and our actions are intertwined with one another, we begin to see that change happens from the inside to the outside, and that's the impact that we can have in our lives and in the lives of the people around us are, in fact, a direct consequence of this connection is a more in-depth. This finding leads us to a whole new level of responsibility and hope, because it reminds us that we are the authors of our own story, which is capable of creating a reality that is aligned with who you really are. And at that point, it becomes clear that the true essence of this transformation is the courage to confront our own personal truth that is hidden, in order to make room for new opportunities and a commitment to make choices that are aligned with what you truly want to manifest. Because deep down, it all comes down to the decision to take the next step, even when your path seemed to be unclear or challenging. It is in the constant movement of self-awareness and decision-making, conscious of the fact that we find the strength to move forward, fueled by the hope that, in turn, our own beliefs, we can also turn to the impact that we leave on the world. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is exactly at this moment that a lot of people lost in their own journey. It is as if, in the middle of the road, a thick mist began to form, making it more difficult to see in the next step with clear. And in that fog is often fully charged at the time of the doubt and fear of the unknown, and a feeling of insecurity, which appears to be larger than any of the certainty that we have ever experienced before. But it is the truth that is hidden, that very few know, is that the fog is nothing more than an opportunity in disguise, with a call to silence, so that we dive even deeper into our own transformation. At this point in time comes to a question of how to maintain the courage to go on when everything seems uncertain. The answer lies in the power that we have cultivated within ourselves and in our ability to have confidence in our decision-making to develop, even when the landscape around you it seems to fall apart. It is at this point that the mind must be in alignment with your soul, because the only way we were able to overcome the impact of our own limitations, which are the ones that you often don't even realize they are to fear on the faces in front of you. And then, when you understand that fear is a mental construct, a story that we have created because we believe that failure is the end of it, we can begin to rewrite the story. This is where it comes to the understanding that it is our decisions that shape not only for the present, however, however, the impact that we leave on the world around us. Each of conscious choice, every step taken with intention. It's like a seed that sprouts in the garden for our transformation. Maybe, in the beginning, it is easy to see the fruit, but they are there. It's growing silently, powered by our self-discipline. And it is this persistence that reveals itself in the lowest depths of our potential, that part of us that believes in the change with the hope and possibility of a better tomorrow. On the other hand, it is also important to recognize that the path of transformation is not just made out of moments of inspiration. It is, in fact, a number of small, everyday decisions that enhance our way of thinking and growing. It's like a chain that grows stronger. Each and every link placed you on a journey of self-discovery, which is about having the courage to face whatever comes up. Because oftentimes, as we look inwards, we are faced with truths they'd rather hide. But that is exactly where the magic happens. When faced with these truths, we let go of our energy as stuck. We create the space for new possibilities and open the doors to a life that is more authentic alignment with who you truly are. And this is a journey of revelation, and behind the scenes, internal, has taught us that the real change starts in the decision-making of don't give up, even when the scene seems to adverse conditions. It's a matter of choosing to believe in your own strength, relying on the ability to learn from the mistakes. Appreciate every step, however small they may seem. Because deep down, every decision we make is like a seed planted in the fertile soil of our evolution. And so, we have built up a history of the impact, authenticity, and courage. A story that, although it is often invisible to the eyes of the world, beating strong inside of each and every action that we make. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this understanding that our decisions are shaping the impact that is left is a powerful tool for those in search of a true transformation. When we do this, we'll cherish each and every moment of the choice. Each and every attitude is that it reveals to us our true nature. And in doing so, we begin to understand that change is not something that happens at one time or another, but it is a solid construction made up of little things and big decisions. Go on a journey of self-discovery, where every step takes us closer to the most authentic selves. One that, if you connect with a greater purpose, is able to influence the world in a way that we don't always get to see it right away, but it will certainly leave an impact. For this reason, it is important to know what the truth hides behind all this journey is the courage to move forward, even when everything seems to be uncertain. That is, the force which really changes. This is a decision that is born in the soul and strengthens the mind, fueled by the hope that, when we reasonably believe in our own personal evolution, we are contributing to something bigger than ourselves. This is the essence of a true transformation. To understand that every move you make, every choice, it's a chance to lay down a marker of a positive impact on the lives and reconnect with what really matters to you. And in the process, we have found that the greatest revolution that is going on inside of each and every one of us, the courage to take the next step, and the confidence and trust that the journey is worth it, regardless of the shades that can arise along the way. I now want to go more in depth on this subject because it's just in the process of connecting with the essence of what many people come to perceive, something that until then seemed to be an invisible. The true strength that lies in our ability to transform into obstacles on the stairs. The finding that the change is not a one-off event, but it is a solid construction and a series of small decisions that add up to create a new reality. And it is at this point that a lot of times we are confronted with the truth it hides behind that which we believe to be our limit. That limit is, in fact, it's just an illusion created by the mind which has not yet been fully deconstructed. The journey of transformation shows that too often we carry within us the beliefs that have been shaped over the years, sometimes without realizing it. These beliefs act as filters in much the invisible, which distort our perception of the possibilities, the dreams, and potential. And then, at the start of the challenge, we hold these truths to the surface. We make room for a change that does not depend solely on the effort of the external, but to an internal change. It begins with the way we see ourselves and the world around us. This is where it comes to the importance of open-mindedness, a willingness to challenge what we have been taught, and at the same time, seek the things that truly resonate with who we are of the truth. In this process, the auto-questionamento, this is a real revolution in culture. Many of the times for the transformation takes place exactly in those moments of insight when we stop to reflect on our decisions and our own high standards and and all the emotions that took over. And in doing so, we begin to unveil the masks that we use to protect ourselves or to fit in with certain social roles. The more you go deeper in the knowledge of self, the more you realize that many of these masks were, in fact, the barriers that prevent us from progressing. And it is liberating because it gives us the freedom to choose between a new narrative, a narrative that is based on truth, authenticity, and the power of decision-making that have always been available to us. It's interesting to see how this journey, it also reveals a behind-the-scenes of your own mind, often hidden under layers of the constraints and limitations are self-imposed. In these scenes, which appear to be so valuable, they are, in fact, the protagonists in the quiet of our own choices on a daily basis. When we realize this, we can begin to act with more awareness, the understanding that every choice we make has the potential to impact not only our history, but it is also the story of those around us. And so, the transformation is no longer something foreign, and it is a true story of an impact that starts from the inside out, as a personal revolution that spreads out so enchanting. To understand this dynamic, a new perspective opens up, one that focuses on the courage to face the unknown, to challenge the status quo, and to make choices that are aligned with your purpose. This is courage. It is often the difference between those who remain in the comfort zone to the one that you decide to take the next step, and the same fear, the same security. Because in essence, the greater the truth concealed is that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to proceed in spite of it. And in this movement, we find that the impact of what we create is going to be proportional to your willingness to get out of your comfort zone, to challenge our own beliefs, and to invest in our ever-expanding. Meanwhile, the behind-the-scenes of our journey will continue to be by showing that every choice, every decision is an opportunity to reinforce who you really are. And when you do that, you start to realize that the real power lies in our ability to make decisions, to rewrite our history, and build a narrative that is true to our nature. It's not about perfection, but originality, recognizing that in each step, albeit a small one, is the seed of a greater change and able to impact lives in a way that a lot of times we can't even imagine. And in the process, we have learned that the truth is hidden. It is rightly of our own strength, our resilience, and a willingness to always go ahead, regardless of what the outside world can show. And with that, the day-to-day becomes an expansion in the constant search for authenticity, and the effects are genuine. And at the same time, it's an opportunity to find out what is the real transformation begins with the courage to look within, to confront our own shadow, and to embrace who you really are. Because at the end of the day, it is in connection with, this is actually more in-depth to find out the true meaning of it all, a never-ending source of energy to keep moving forward and leaving our mark on history. And that's the way it is challenging to know that we are living in the purpose that leads us to the next, always in search of new revelations and new discoveries that will take us further on this journey of transformation. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the connection to the truth that is hidden. The one that often remains hidden under the layers of doubt and insecurity is that it really shows the power that we have inside of us. It is as if, for the rest of our journey, we are looking for a piece of the key, which, when found, it changes the whole perspective. It becomes our decision-making, and it reignites the fire of encouragement. In this part, the revelation is not something external, but to an inner understanding of what causes us to look beyond the surface, beyond the limitations of what is often accepted as inevitable. When you immerse yourself in a universe of self-discovery, we've begun to realize that many of the difficulties we face are the result of a story that you internalize early on, in a story that has been told by the opinions of others, because of past experiences or fears that you have created in your mind. And it is this narrative, one that often causes us to believe that success, happiness, or fulfillment is only possible for a small percentage of people are special, one of the elite who were born with an advantage, with a fortune beyond compare. But the truth is hidden. It is that such a belief is just an obstacle that prevents us from seeing our true potential and unlimited. To uncover the truth, we can begin to understand that true transformation comes not from the magic formulas or shortcuts easy, but it is a change in the internal depth of the reconstruction of our way of thinking. It is a process of alchemy, where what seemed to be a strength or a failure turns on the power, learning, and growth. This day is about having the courage to face our own shadows, to recognize one's own limitations and at the same time to celebrate our strengths and capabilities. All of this is part of a development that when that is understood, it becomes a never-ending source of energy, a force that keeps us steadfast even in the face of the most challenging obstacles. Behind each and every decision is important. There is a choice. Stay in the comfort zone or advance in the direction of the unknown. The unknown will bring worries. This is the one that shows our true essence, because it is the courage to continue, even without any collateral, which we find in the true sense of the journey. It is at this point that our faith and life, not only in our ability to improve, strengthen, and it is this faith, in turn, fuels our commitment to creating a virtuous cycle that drives our transformation. And if you think about all of this, we see that the truth is hidden. It is not something far away or out of reach, but it's a reality that is within each and every one of us. Like a seed that, when planted, to pay attention, care, and courage, flowers, and reveal your full potential. It is a source of inspiration that calls us to look within, to give a new meaning to your story and finding out what really matters to you. This finding leads us to a level of consciousness in the highest, and where the opportunities are multiplying and life takes on a new meaning, more in line with who you really are and what we can become. This is more in-depth understanding that causes us to see the impact that we want to make. It is not dependent on external factors, but in our ability to transform our way of thinking and to choose to our actions, purposes, and to believe in our inner strength. With each step taken in this direction, it is a statement that we are able to shape our own realities, to create a new chapter in its history and evolving continuously. And to the extent that this is a journey of self-discovery, turns out, in connection with this truth is hidden will become stronger, revealing a whole new dimension of ourselves, of a size which, until then, has remained hidden away, just waiting for that someone had the courage to look at her. At this time, we understand that true transformation begins with the decision to see beyond the limitations apparent in the willingness to open up to the unknown, and the courage to follow it even when the way look up in the air. It's the courage that drives us to continue to explore new opportunities and challenging what we believe to be impossible. Because deep down, we know that every big change starts with a decision. A wake-up built-in has made us realize that real power lies in our ability to pick and choose what we believe, what we want, and who we want to become. And from that point on, everything changes, even to ourselves. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I really connected with this idea, is that the change starts within each of us, the courage to make choices, and if you allow it to grow. And it is precisely this thought that it might make all the difference in your journey." So, if that kind of content, it made sense to you, take the opportunity to leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end," or something to show you that this message has touched in any way. Thus, we are able to create an exchange is real, a connection that has strengthened even more of the journey of the self, that we are to walk together. If you feel that this video brought a lot of insight, helpful, don't forget to leave a like. It is a way of showing that your content is helping you, what makes sense to you. And of course, if you want to continue to explore these issues, there's a video right here on the side which complements the talk. Click there, and still am there. It is because you still have so much more for us to learn and grow. After all, it is the path of growth. It is made up of steps in, and with each step you take, however small it may seem, it has a huge impact on your story. So stay with me if you subscribe to the channel so as not to miss a thing, and we should all be on this journey of transformation. Until the next video!